So today we are out in Houston, Texas at a Ford Drive event. They're giving media and press the opportunity to drive the new F150 with the Powerstroke 3-liter diesel engine. They have 3 trucks out here, including this King Ranch, a Platinum, which I believe is out on a drive, and a Lariat model. So we're going to try to learn as much about this truck as possible. I'll have an opportunity to speak with an engineer, as well as possibly get some tough questions answered. So we are about to start our test drive of this F150 and see how it feels. So far, what I can tell you about this truck is that it's exceptionally quiet. It actually, to me, sounds quieter than either the EcoBoost or the 5-liter V8 that you can get optional in this truck. It's just very quiet. You can't tell that it's a diesel at all. Naturally, it has a very smooth ride. Most people know by now that all half-ton trucks have kind of moved away from feeling like a truck when you drive them. They feel more like a luxury SUV or, in some cases, even a luxury car. This specific truck that we're in is a Platinum edition. Very, very nice. It's got that brown-colored interior, which looks really, really good. Typically, they saved that different color contrasting interior for the King Ranch, but now they're adopting that in the Limited as well as the Platinum that we're in. Ford put this event on here at Moxie's in Houston for media, so we could take an opportunity to drive these trucks, see all about them, talk to the engineers, and just try to get a better understanding of the diesel engine in this specific truck. Now, what I can tell you is it definitely has good get up and go. It feels good. It doesn't feel like it's underpowered or it's lacking power. It definitely feels as if it has both the horsepower and torque to get the truck up and moving at highway speeds. It's interesting and kind of difficult at the same time to do a fresh review on this truck, simply because the only difference in this truck versus, say, my F450, of course, is the engine. The interior itself is pretty much identical to the interior that I have on my truck, aside from a shifter in the center console here versus a console shifter you would typically have on the steering wheel of a Super Duty. But the F150 has been using the center console shifter for some time. This truck does have the automatic engine stop feature. When you come to a stop at a red light, the engine shuts off. The minute you take your foot off the brake or you press the gas slightly, the engine starts right back up. And it's a very, very seamless feature. Basically, if you need that instantaneous get up and go power, you might want to turn the feature off. But for stop and go traffic, it comes on very quickly. To disable the feature, you're simply going to press this button right here on the dash, and that turns the feature off, so the engine stays running at red lights. It does reset itself anytime you turn the truck off, though. Next time you start it, the feature is going to be back on again. Again, very comfortable truck, but I would have to say the most impressive aspect of driving this vehicle is just how quiet it is. It's exceptionally quiet. It literally is silent. You don't hear the engine really at all. You hear just a slight motor noise when you're accelerating, but other than that, there's virtually no noise at all. From a towing perspective, as equipped, this truck has about a 8,500 to 9,000 pound maximum tow rating. If you get a two-wheel drive version of this truck, or you get a different cab configuration of this truck, that will also impact towing numbers. This specific truck would be a great truck to tow a mid-size travel trailer, something in that 5,000 to 6,000 pound range comfortably. Anytime you approach the maximum tow numbers of a vehicle, you're going to see seriously decreased performance over some types of terrain, such as going uphill or in incredibly steep inclines. You're also going to see them harder to stop when you're going downhill. If you got a truck like this would be perfect for, a Forest River vibe. That's going to be in that 5 to maybe 6,500, 7,000 pound maximum weight range. 7,000 pounds to me even seems a little high for something like this. Even though the numbers are clearly higher than that in terms of capability, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to push a truck like this. If you're going to get into that 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 pound travel trailer range, I would definitely recommend you upgrade to something like an F250 or a Silverado 2500 HD or a Ram 2500 truck. Even their gas version trucks are going to feel a little bit more comfortable and confident when you're towing something that's heavier. The thing to understand about this specific engine and truck platform is that it's really designed for fuel economy with basic towing needs met. So if you do want to haul a boat, if you want to haul that mid-size travel trailer and you want to get good fuel economy doing it, or let's say that you don't haul a trailer very often but you need a truck for work, or you need a truck for weekend projects, or you just like pickup trucks, this is a great option for you. So you're going to see upwards of 30 miles per gallon in this truck on the highway. Right now, city driving, we're averaging about 23 miles per gallon, which is still very impressive for a half-ton truck this size, and considering that it does have relatively good numbers in terms of towing capacity. I want to take a moment and thank Ford for putting this event together. They basically hosted this event in a couple different cities throughout Texas. I believe Dallas was the first one, and this is the second one in Houston. And they invited all sorts of car journalists out to drive around these cars. They also have an EcoSport, which is their real compact, fuel-efficient, kind of a crossover. I don't really know what segment it fits in. It's smaller than an SUV, but it's larger than your traditional compact car. So it kind of falls right in between there. It's a four-door vehicle. Has an EcoBoost engine in it. Once we get back with the truck, I have the opportunity to interview the head of the engine division for this truck. Basically, the person who's in charge of making sure that this power plant is built correctly and the specifications tied to it. So we're going to talk with him shortly. So with me now, I have Ken Pumpford with Ford. He is actually an engineer with Ford that specifically worked on the Powerstroke platform in the half-ton, as well as the earlier 3/4 ton and up trucks, correct?
Correct.
Could you take a moment and kind of explain what you do for Ford?
Okay, I am the engine design supervisor for this engine, for the 3-liter Lion V6 diesel in the F150.
What's Ford's, what makes the Ford Powerstroke kind of stand out?
Well, there's fuel economy. So currently we're the fuel economy leader. So we achieve 30 miles per gallon on the highway. So that's class leading. And then it is a F150 capable engine. It's been proven out. It's the basic architecture of the engine was existing already. Ford has had it in production for a number of years. But for F150, we took a complete new look at the engine and made many enhancements and tweaks to make sure that it was durable for our F150 customer.
As far as power output, torque specifications, what can we expect from this engine?
250 horsepower, 440 foot-pounds of torque.
So one thing I've noticed when you look at diesel engines or diesel power plants in half-ton or lighter duty trucks, class 2A would be, I imagine, what this falls into, is that you don't see the maximum towing numbers that you might see in, let's say, an EcoBoost, where you can get upwards of over 12,000 pounds of maximum tow capacity. However, fuel economy is where these things really benefit. So they give you really remarkable tow numbers considering the fuel economy you get out of these engines. Is that kind of the direction that diesels are designed for in half tons versus 3/4 ton and up?
Exactly. We're not the most powerful, either in terms of horsepower in the F-150 lineup, obviously, or in terms of max tow, or in max torque output from the engine. But we do strike a fantastic balance of fuel economy as well as towing performance, and we think that's where this engine is going to be used for the customer that does a fair amount of towing, and we'll see the benefits in terms of reduced fuel usage.
So when you look at the use case of this particular truck, would you say that this is more in line for those people who might have, you know, a smaller travel trailer or perhaps a medium-sized boat, something that isn't going to necessarily max the engine out, but is basically a weekend tow vehicle, something that you're going to want to put your boat behind, your RV behind, utility trailer behind, something that might work well for lawn and garden industry where somebody might have a utility trailer with a couple of riding lawnmowers on it, something like that?
That's exactly the market that we see this truck doing well in. The recreational user that is, you know, towing a medium-sized camper, boat, or a toy trailer. So that will obviously be a big part of the market. And then there's a fleet-only version where the lighter duty cases that you mentioned, lawn and garden, or some industries that use the bed to haul articles to the work site, they'll really see a benefit from the fuel economy.
One of the questions that my subscribers are definitely going to want to know is long-term reliability. And a conversation we were having before we started this interview, basically talking about how engines have just inherently gotten more reliable, even considering all the emissions and all the government mandated things that are essentially tied to make these engines clean. Now my question is, for those who say, is this going to be a reliable long-term engine? Is this an engine I can expect to get 300, 400,000 miles out of trouble-free? What would your response be in terms of overall reliability of this platform?
This engine was engineered for the F-150. It's a light-duty diesel for the maximum longevity. You're going to want to go to the Super Duty class. That's a totally different class of vehicle. Your F-250 and higher. But this is designed specifically for the F-150 duty cycle. We took a fundamentals approach to this when we were designing it for F-150. So as I mentioned, it is an already existing architecture, but we took on the project as if it was a brand new engine. So we broke the engine down into its individual components: the cylinder block, the crankshaft, connecting rods, pistons, cylinder head, and we analyzed it with all our CAE tools, our CAD and CAE tools, as if it was a brand new engine, put it through its paces on the computer, and then did any changes that were necessary in order to meet F-150 durability requirements. So that was on the design side. After we made those enhancements to the design, then we produced hardware and we put the engine through all our durability tests that any other F-150 engine would go through in Dearborn. So we ran it through the dynamometer test, and I'm not going to kid you, we always learn things in dynamometer test. So as we learn things, then we tweak the design, improve the design, and then put it through the testing again until we had a flawless test pass. So that's the durability that's in this engine.
Outstanding. And one final question, and this is more related to the introduction of the 2011 EcoBoost in the half-ton truck. When they first launched that, Ford released a series of really, really interesting commercials that just showed the durability of the engine under some really extreme conditions, doing the hot-cold test, as well as taking it up to the northwest, and doing some really crazy tests towing lumber up and down mountains. Are you planning on doing any type of major torture tests on this engine?
We've done all that. I don't think they've recorded the videos like they did for the original EcoBoost, but the truck has been through all that.
Outstanding. And again, this is a production ready truck. These trucks are actually hitting dealership lots already, I think. So this is something that you could definitely go to your local Ford dealership and take a ride in and see if it meets your needs. So one thing to note about the weight of this engine, it's roughly the same weight of the EcoBoost or the 5-liter, is probably the best way to say it. That's good because if you're looking at a Powerstroke upgrade in a Super Duty truck, you're looking at a significant weight increase, which of course takes away from your carrying capacity of that truck. It takes away from your payload. But because the Powerstroke in the half-ton truck, or the F150, is so much in line weight-wise with the other engines that are available, it's really not going to have any negative impact on your overall payload capacity. So Ken, I know a question that my subscribers are going to want to know an answer to. Is this the same diesel engine that you can get in the Transit van?
No, the Transit van has a 3.2 liter Puma architecture i5 diesel engine. That's completely unrelated. This is a 3 liter V6 diesel. They're produced in different plants, and the engine architectures are not related at all.
Ken, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for spending some time with us and letting my subscribers know some information about this new Powerstroke.
My pleasure.
So I stepped away from the F-150 for a second because I want to show something to my subscribers that own 2011 and up Super Duties with the 6.7 liter. So this pipe right here, when the 2011 Super Duty first came out, it was an aluminum pipe. Now it's a flexible rubber pipe. And a lot of people have made the claim, even with relatively low mileage, that when they're towing heavy uphill and there's a lot of boost being created, that they've blown this specific piece of rubber tube. Well, while I had Ken, who is actually the design supervisor for the new 3-liter Powerstroke here, he works directly beside the gentleman who works on this specific platform. And the person who actually manages this component is the same person for the 3-liter Powerstroke engine. After I explained to him what was happening, they were unaware of it. They were unaware that this is actually a failure point, and there have been a number of people who have experienced a failure here. So he took pictures of this part, he's going to take it back, and they will likely upgrade this from rubber to aluminum. Thought you guys might want to know, especially those with the 6.7 liter Powerstroke.